Peace, happy and healthy family and friends.
Yes, hey, happy new day with Ari J.
Welcome. We are happy to have you and glad that you've made it to episode 18.
18.
We're getting up there, huh?
18.
18.
We got a full-grown show now. We're legal.
Yeah, well, you can count it as such.
Yes.
And our subject for today.
Intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting. And it's how can changing when I eat greatly improve my life? How can changing the time of day that I eat and not eat, actually, which is more important, greatly change and improve my health? Yeah. You got some history for us?
Well, fasting, it is a discipline where we voluntarily eliminate or keep away from the things of the body for a specific amount of time or a specific amount of hours. And that's basically what fasting is. Fasting, you can fast from food, you can fast from a number of things according to the body. Fasting from having intercourse, fasting from smoking cigarettes, whatever is your body's delicacy, it's doing away with that for a time.
Absolutely.
Yes, and there are definitely spiritual components that come along with that. We see in Exodus where Moses, we got the 10 commandments from the fasting 40 days and 40 nights. So there are benefits to it as well. Let me see here. In Luke, we talked about fasting twice a week. Yeah, that's in chapter 18. And when it comes to fasting, the temptations come.
Oh, yeah.
There are temptations when it comes to fasting. So when you decide and dedicate yourself to leaving certain things at bay, just as I mentioned before with the commandments, the response was, it's more than that. It's more of a spiritual focus. And like I say, you will be tempted. I know even my personal journey in being abstinent, you'd be surprised all the pictures that come through and everything. Like, you sure? Ha! It's like,
slide in the DM.
Oh, and that lets you know that you're on your way to something bigger than yourself, bigger than your circumstances, bigger than your situation. So keep that in mind too. Let's see here. It isn't for applause. It isn't for recognition. So it is in Matthew 6:16 where it says, don't be somber, don't be sunken when you're fasting. Again, because it's not for applause. It's basically a dedication. It's a mind reset. It's a body reset. It's a body realignment for whatever fast that you choose to do. And it's for you.
Yeah.
It's a personal development, for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. And so, a little bit of background in how we got into fasting.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so like my story, it started some years back when I was introduced to the idea of the circadian rhythms of the body, and I saw a chart from Dr. Sadie about eating in rhythm, or the laws of eating in rhythm. And it showed the different times of day that in order to maximize your uptake of food and your processing of food, and then also your body growing from that and getting the most out of the foods that you're eating, there were certain times of day that you should refrain from eating. Yeah, and then also I started to dig further into it, and I didn't at the time. I was like, oh, okay, whatever. Yeah, because at that time I was still, growing up on the uh, not so much the standard American diet, but the standard American eating plan, which is eat every time I get hungry. And so, granted, I was eating better things, fruits, veggies. I had started to switch over to organic foods at that time as well, and then started to upgrade my water intake. But then, what was I was getting ready for a karate tournament, and one of my fraternity brothers, Dr. Mike Howe, he's my chiropractor. I had a major strain in my leg, and like the day before I was supposed to compete. And I went to go, so I hadn't seen him in a number of years, and he kept saying, he's great, phenomenal for pain management. So anybody, shouts out to Dr. Mike Howe. Anybody that's in the Los Angeles area, if you can pop up to Pasadena, if you got some pain issues and you need them to disappear in a hurry. Mike, he's patched myself up, my kids. With their leg issues. Anyway, I digress. He had lost a tremendous amount of weight, and I was like, brother, man, you looking good. How'd you do that? And he says, oh, I've been intermittent fasting. I've been practicing intermittent fasting. I was like, oh, okay. Now I've read about it, seen it, heard things about it, but to actually see somebody that was like a before and after. It was, it was a game changer. It was like, oh, okay. Because the thing is, when you see somebody that that, you see where they were before, then you see where they, ended up. And it's like, okay, the proof is in the pudding. Like, okay, it must be something to this intermittent fasting. And so that's when I started to dive deeper into it and really started to study it and come into the understanding or the understanding that it's something that I needed to add in as a part of my life. One thing he had mentioned to me was like he was doing other exercise programs and other diets, and they really didn't work. And then when I started to do the research, but when he started to do the intermittent fasting, it was more of a passive way to move into, the weight loss. So that was his focus, was the weight loss and just improving conditioning overall. Oh, you good, man?
Yes, I am.
Oh, you got a little juice in there. You got a shot.
I always have a little juice.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Let me put my finger over here. I'll ground it with the
electricity.
With the
Yes. I'm like, oh, yeah.
Oh, I told you that orgasmic is you got to keep it juicy. Yeah, you never know when it's gonna. Ooh. Anyway, Mike. Yeah, so I started to study more and look into the science behind like why this works. And what it is that like a lot of times when people diet and they go into it's a temporary situation, like I'm doing this to get to this point, and then immediately after they're off their diet, within a week, 2 weeks, boom, they gain half of the weight back that they lost. Because it was a temporary thing. The mind is looking at it as I was deprived. You're taking away from me, and the minute I'm basically in jail, in food jail, and then it goes. The minute they have the opportunity, they go back to eating all the same stuff they've been eating. And so, when you practice intermittent fasting, it becomes it's not a diet. It's a life. It's a way of life. It's a way of being. And there's simple ways to do it. And then if you're more goal oriented as far as there's certain things you want to accomplish, there's benefits to shortening and lengthening the time span that you actually eat and lengthening the time that you actually fast. And also how frequently you fast is really determined by, what it is you're looking to accomplish. And so we'll cover that today. And so that was my foray into it. And then I started to put it into practice a couple years back when I got my Kemetic Reiki certification with Kajara. over at Raseki Reiki. And it was at that point where I started to see both sides, because there was the physical side of it and the things that fasting does, which I'll talk about shortly. And then there was the spiritual aspect of it that really supercharged my abilities, especially in order to do the energy work that I was practicing. As from a Reiki standpoint, it really enhanced me in so many different ways. It was phenomenal for clearing me, because at that point, what I started to do was a 3-day fast in conjunction with my 3 days of doing spirit baths each week, which was a practice for enhancing our abilities in Reiki, becoming more spiritually in tune, more connected with the Most High, and our ability to really just learn yourself. Because that you don't realize how much time you spend eating or preparing for food or going to get food or shopping for food. And during that time, I realized that I had a whole lot of extra time to really focus on me during that fast. And so I made some tremendous spiritual gains, because I was going into deep meditation, and then after about 36 hours, your mind starts to clear quite a bit more as well. But I'll flow with that and touch on that later on. But essentially, the basic number one thing that you can do when you look at, because people are like, I don't want to fast, I don't know, is only eat between the hours of 5 in the morning and 8 at night. Yeah, don't eat after 8 o'clock at night, basically. That's the simplest, easiest thing that you could ever do. If you haven't caught on by now, I'm always into passive ways of improving your life. That way it doesn't seem like such a drastic change, like, oh my God, I have to do all of this and I'm going down a long laundry list of, no. If you don't do anything else today, after hearing this message, just don't eat after 8 o'clock at night. Yeah, the number one thing, if you can't do anything else, just don't eat after 8 o'clock, preferably 6 p.m. But 8 o'clock is like the latest. And that gives your body time to really process and break down the foods prior to you going to bed. But then when your body goes into, it actually utilizes the foods and starts to do the uptake and cleansing and enhancing of your body during that time. Because if you're eating late after 8 o'clock, technically after 6, your body is spending time digesting the food as opposed to utilizing it to fix and repair your body. And so when you have that when you're eating late, now your body's doing something that's out of its rhythm. And so now when you wake up, you're still full because your body hasn't fully digested the food, especially since, you're laying down. And so that's something you want to be aware of. And so essentially, and then there's also certain times of the day that you should eat certain things. And so between the hours of 5 and 12, 5 and noon, 5 a.m. and noon, you want to focus on eating fruits, herbs, water, to break your fast. That's what breakfast means, break fast. That means that's the first meal of the day. Technically, you should wake up and drink a glass of warm water. That is a game changer because it gets the organs moving. It gets your body saying in the mode of, hey, wake up. Now I'm charging up. Just like you would warm your car up in the morning before you head on out. And so you have to give your body, that water gives your body the signal like, okay, I'm trying to turn on, time to, start preparing to get ready for the day. Mm-hmm. And then the best thing to break your fast with, the best thing for breakfast is fruit. And then take your herbal supplements because now your body has already, it's during the nighttime, it's gone through and processed everything and cleansed itself out. And then the fruit and the herbs help to continue that cleansing process. And then you have your bowel movement, you urinate, and now your body's reset and ready to go. From noon till about 3 o'clock, that's when you want to start taking your vegetables, because your vegetables, those are your building blocks. That's what gives you the minerals, vitamins, and enzymes, and all the things your body needs to grow and function at a high level. And so from 12 to 3, that's when you want to take your vegetables and focus on that. So a good salad, a good, leafy greens and that and whatnot, that goes a long way to maximize. Because what I'm speaking on is how you maximize your energy levels and your performance throughout the day to do your daily tasks. And then from 3 to 8, that's when you look at you're looking into the more your healthy proteins, your more foods that have a little bit more grit to it or whatnot. And so that's when you're looking, like for healthy proteins, legumes. If you're into the meats, like I said, we're pescatarians, so that's when we'll have our fish and whatnot. More salads, more fruits and whatnot. But it kind of whatever your body usually will. Once you get in tune with your body, it will tell you what you need. So always listen to unless you're hooked on sugar, always listen to your body. Yeah. So unless you're hooked on sugar, always listen to your body, because then you have to keep in mind to be able to differentiate between what the parasites in your system are telling that you are craving versus what your body actually needs. But that's a whole another story. And so for people to say, well, I'm hungry after 8 o'clock. What if I get hungry? At that point, you can drink more water. That's always because people say, well, I get so hungry during the fast. And the thing is, your body is in the habit of eating. That's what that comes from. And so every time what worked for me is every time I got hungry, I got that, I gotta, I gotta eat. Especially when you're doing a detox. What I would do is I keep some water next to me, and I take that water back. And within 30 minutes, that hungry feeling would go away. Yeah, I was like, that was easy. I really did that a long time ago. Yeah, and so the ideology of fasting isn't new. It goes back hundreds of years, thousands of years, if you really want to, depending on how far back you want to go, because there's information that shows this, and in every culture has some sort of a fasting regimen that people tap into. Do you have some information on that, or things you want to enlighten us with?
Well, I wanted to emphasize the importance of going into fasting. It's a mindset. So you can't go into fasting with a lack mindset, like I'm depriving myself, as you were mentioning. Because what happens is once that fast is over, it turns into food abuse, where I have to go to a buffet because I've done my body a disservice because I haven't eaten. And transmute that energy into something else. Even the focus can elevate or evolve you into higher God consciousness. Even in the Quran, they speak of fasting being linked to God consciousness. And we're speaking on different I'll speak on, what I know of India, right? They have something, and excuse me if I mispronounce it, but it's a Ekudeshi, where I know of it, they fast 4 days before the full moon and 4 days before the new moon. And that's to reset and realign the body to be available first for rest of the system, because we really don't have to eat every day.
No.
Us eating every day, because the body never stops working, so it is important to let the body rest and again realign. And really it's mind over body, not body over mind, because if you're in a space where you're having to eat every day, who's in charge? Is it the body or is it the mind? Again, it's a mindset and a discipline. And many cultures, most cultures, I want to even say that the American culture is one of the only ones that does not have a dedicated fasting regimen, just as other cultures do.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so, like I said, the concept of fasting, it goes back thousands of years, especially when you add in, typically for spiritual purposes,
Yes.
because it's a discipline, and it leads to enlightenment in many ways.
Yes.
I've experienced the greatest spiritual gains in doing fasting while fasting, because of the clarity of mind that it frees your mind to really be able to focus and go inward. Yeah, and so essentially, a basic fasting protocol is, I'm always going to tell you the same thing every time. Drink at least a half a gallon to a gallon of water every day. Fruits and vegetables. You got to make that a large part of your daily diet. Now, if you got to do the meats, make sure it's organic. And if you're going to do the meats, eat them during the latter part of the day, when your body's getting ready to prepare for digestion, so that you get the maximum energy going towards breaking down those meats in the body. If you are trying to cut back on the meats, fish is solid because it processes quickly. But if you got to do the chickens and the beefs and everything, just be aware that they do take longer. And a lot of the energy loss that we experience is because our body's going through digestion at times when it's supposed to be resting or when it's time to be building. And so that's just the essentials. Now, there are different schools of thought as far as time patterns, and I've tested out quite a few. The sweet spot is somewhere between a 16-8 or 18-6 regimen, meaning that 16 hours a day your body's is in a fasting mode. You can drink like liquids during that time, and the other 8 hours you're eating. So like something like between 10 to 6, 12 to 8. Typically, like with us, we break our fast at noon every day, and so we eat from the hours of 12 to 6, and so that's the 18-6 regimen, and that seems to have been like the sweet spot for us. Sometimes I've actually gone up as high as I've done the 20-24, which is, I eat for 4 hours during the day, and then 20 hours a day I'll fast. And then I've even experimented with the 2-22. So 2 hours a day I'll eat, usually between like 4 to 6. And then I'll fast for the rest of the time. And so I've seen benefits at every level. Now what we do is we'll do like the 18-6. And so, or I say, we'll do the, 16-6. Oh, that's 18-6, I'm sorry. We'll do the 18 hours fasting during the day, night and day, so evening into the next day. And then at noon, we'll break our fast and we'll eat between 12 and 6. And then what we'll follow that up with is from Sunday at midnight through Wednesday at noon, we'll do a 60-hour fast. And so when you ask, well, why do we do that on a weekly basis? For the most part, anytime after 36 hours, technically, it usually starts anytime out between 12 and 16 hours, but to get the most benefit from fasting, when you do an extended fast, it has a a resetting effect on the body. And so after between 12 to 16 hours of not eating, your body switches over from a glycogen food source, which is sugar, into a to using fat as a food source. And so when people say, well, you know what, I can't lose this body fat, which is the number one thing people, look to fasting for. I can't lose body fat. I can't lose body fat. And the reason being is they're not functioning or moving into their food source is sugar. And so as long as their food source is sugar, and the reason why fasting works for weight loss is because the first thing it switches over to is fat as the fuel. So once you move off of having sugar as your fuel to going into having fat as your fuel, and that, for obvious reasons, bingo, you start to lose. Yeah, you start to lose, you start to experience fat loss. And then you've heard people say, well, if you don't eat, I've heard a lot of athletes made mentions of my coaches back in the day. And God bless y'all. I appreciate y'all for trying to, bring out the best in me. But y'all was giving misinformation, especially when I was weight training all the time when I was in college. The statement was, if you don't eat enough, your body will eat itself. And technically it's true. But the one thing they failed to realize was that your body eats the bad stuff first. Yeah. That your body eats the bad things first. And so when you fast, the optimal time for fasting, like when you're getting the best of both worlds, is up to about right around 48 hours is the sweet spot. When you get over to like the 72-hour range, that's when it'll really like pull the body will start to eat all the toxins and all the things in the system that are bad for it, all the bad fats that exist in the body. And so that's the reason why people experience the weight loss they do when they practice intermittent fasting, is because the first thing that goes to, it switches over to your fuel source switches over to the fat and bad fats. And so person that's overweight, guess what they have a whole lot of? A lot of bad fat. And so now the going into a state of, and what they call that state of moving into a fat fuel per se, for lack of a better term, is ketosis. Yeah, is ketosis. And some really interesting things happen during ketosis. The ketones that's the secret sauce in fasting, because as your body develops those ketones, they are like a growth hormone almost, that in the way that they function. They start to supercharge the cells, and so people will say, well, initially I feel weak and I feel tired, and that's because your body's just switching over. Especially when you first start to do fasting, your body, it goes through a switchover process because it's still wanting the sugars. And it's like, okay, my sugar's low. I'm feeling some kind of way and whatnot. And that's when you start to upgrade, speed up your water intake. That's when the celery juices will come into play because and you start to pull, it could be a number of different things, but usually it's because the person's actually dehydrated and their body's trying to look for the sugar and it's not there. And so drinking a glass of water or some vegetable juice or fruit juice goes a long way when you're going through that transition. But the ketones, they have enhanced healing properties for the body. And so to the degree that these ketones are alive and well in your body and they're, growing, and the more that you have, the better you feel. The more that you have, the better your ability, your body, you greatly improve your body's ability to heal itself. And so those ketones, yeah, that's the secret sauce. And so, and there you get the maximum. Like say for instance, they start to move into that state of ketosis after about 12 hours, 12, 16 hours, right in there. But they're at their height. They have the Harvard study shows that they did a test for people that for the amount of ketones in their system at from 12 to 16 hours versus 72. And they found that after 72 hours of fasting, this is, once they, because in order to get to this space, typically the fasting gets you there a lot quicker. Exercise does the same thing, but to a lesser degree. And so this is sort of a natural way for your body to switch into that state. But after 72 hours of fasting, the level of ketones in the individuals that were in that case study was like 15 to 20 times higher. So you can see, because a lot of times people say, well, no, don't deprive yourself of food, don't deprive yourself of food. But what's happening is you're depriving yourself of the ability to, create these ketones. So unless you're doing a lot of exercise per se, which if you're in if your health is kind of marginalized, are you really feeling like exercising? Nah, really, because you don't have the fuel, the fire to get up and go. And so what these ketones do, not only do they help for cell regeneration, they had studies that show that any kind of a condition that's going on in somebody's body, especially, well, you know what? I'm not going to go into a whole diagnostic thing or whatnot. But any major disease, trust and understand that fasting can greatly improve that. And if something you want to know more in detail, get with us offline, and we'll have a discussion about that and point you in the right direction on research that validates what we're talking about. And so ketones. And so the sweet spot, the only problem with is once you get to around that 72-hour mark, the body starts to pull the fat from the muscles. And so that's what, especially if you're more on the athletic side and you're trying to maintain muscle mass and whatnot, you don't want to go into that 72-hour range. So 48 hours is the sweet spot for fasting. We do 60 hours. That is just, and well, there's two things. Do what's right, your body will tell you what you need. And so in trying different things, it was like we were doing 72 hours at one point. And then because for me, with my activity level and whatnot and training, I had needed to table back a little bit because 72 hours is a bit long. And so I found that 60 hours was a sweet spot for us. But typically right around 48, you'll really greatly, 48 hours is enough for your body to reset itself and really put you in a state of homeostasis, a state of balance, and especially if you're feeling with your hormones, you need to, you want to put them back in check and whatnot. The good 48-hour fast will do you well. For body maintenance, just general maintenance and, day in and day out, just maintaining a balanced life, just daily fasting, just moderate the times that you eat. A 16-8, especially if you're having any kind of a challenge health-wise, looking at like a 16-8 or 18-6, or even shortening it up to the point where, because some people they have difficulty. They like 24 hours I can't eat. We'll just work your way into it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is very important to do. So there is a way to go into fasting responsibly and a way to come out of fasting responsibly. So you want to lessen your food intake or minimize slightly. So you want to go from your solid foods that you've been eating every day and gradually come down into a broth. something more liquid based.
Excellent.
And then go into the fast. And then once the fast is over, you don't go to the burger buffet. You, again, start with the broth. And then as your body is reacclimating to food, then you go into the more solids. But again, it goes back to that mindset of, oh, I've been depriving myself. No, I have been getting myself prepared for this fasting.
Absolutely. And so the ketones are solid for energy boosting and then also healing the body. They have healing effects. And then when you look at brain function, one thing that was probably outside of everything else, my brain function in improving of that, my ability to meditate and silence the brain or silence my mind. I said, look, I need to quit it cold turkey. All right, Deborah, how you doing?
Yes. I mean, that is an option. Some people go there, and really what that does is shock the body. So if you've been used to eating a certain way and then you say, okay, today I'm done, it's more likely that you're going to eat in that time that you've set for your fast to happen. So like I said before, you want to ease into it and ease out of it.
Yeah.
That's most important.
And then as it becomes a habit, 'cause that's what it is for us. Because when Sunday night comes around, it's like, oh, okay. I'm looking forward to the fast, not dreading it.
Right.
Yeah, and so, I get my last little meal in and whatnot, and then boom, I wake up Monday morning ready to rock and roll. Because I know that my body is going to, those ketones are going to start getting formed. And now it's ready to, I'm ready to take it to the next level. I said, this is my thing in life, to let go of food as comfort. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there's people who, they go on air.
Oh, yeah, you got breatharians.
Exactly, breatharian. And I know someone, he's on Facebook, I forget his name right now, but he goes out into the sun and is fed by the sun.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Hey, Shay, how you doing? Glad you came to join us today. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now that fasting. And so the next thing is the mental, the increasing of brain function. There's what they call BDNFs, which is the brain. What is that? It skips my mind right now. Brain-derived natural factor, nutritional factor. And so the brain-derived nutritional factor, or neutral factor, is what it does is it optimizes your brain function. It enhances that, and then where that comes from, when your body goes into that state of ketosis. A lot of times people, you'll hear it, it's more common than not. People will say that, oh, I have clarity of mind, during my fast. And that's because the BDNFs are coming into play and cleansing the brain and basically detoxifying the brain and enhancing it. And so when your body goes into that state of ketosis, the BDNFs are then really coming into play, and it starts to supercharge your thought processes. And so and then when you couple that with like meditation, oh man, that's like, whoo. And then you couple that with all those ketones flowing around in your system, and now your energy is up, your mental capacity and clarity of mind is up, and now, I see the OB, they call obedience. Well, do tell, Deborah. You said they called B. B as in boy, D as in B as in brain, D as in derived, in as a nutritional factor. And so what that does is it enhances brain function. And so to the degree that a person is having challenges, oh, I'm sorry, my bad. Got it.
Well.
Yeah, so BDNF. As a matter of fact, you can Google BDNF, and it'll have a whole breakdown of how they're formed and all the great things that BDNFs do in the brain and enhancing it. And people that, as a matter of fact, they made mention of it helps with like Alzheimer's and senility in seniors and whatnot. People that have brain fog. Fasting is great for that. Yeah, great for that. It was actually in addition to the purple tea and whatnot, because it was like, okay, well, Jeffrey, well, you haven't had access to the purple tea since COVID started. Gotcha. Yes, perfect. Deborah. Yeah, so people ask me, they're like, okay, well, what did you do to maintain it after that? Fasting. That's what I did. I started fasting because that clarity of mind really was a game changer for me. That's why I said I noticed that more than anything else, because my cognitive skills had diminished so much from the 2 concussions that I had, and then also the car accident. The 2 concussions I had in 2018, and then the car accident in 2019, and then that purple tea helped relieve all the pain and helped me to start to improve. But then we didn't have access to it after when all the shipments were stopped due to COVID. And so what was the next best thing? And then I kind of fell into the whole fasting regimen, and then found out that from a brain function standpoint, that's what sustained me since that time. And we're going on 2 years now. And I'm light years better than I had ever been before. And so the BDNFs and helping to enhance my brain function, and the deep meditations and whatnot have helped out a lot. And then we already talked about the fat loss. And so hey, Felicia, how you doing? Blessings to you. And so we talk about like the fat loss, because that's probably like the biggest thing. One thing that tips that, we can kind of follow during, if you're looking at doing fasting for fat loss, is continue your exercise. I would say probably take it a tick down as far as your level of exercise or your level of exertion, because your body, especially in the beginning, and then once you build up, like fasting, it just becomes a part of your get down. Then you can kind of move into it and start ramping things up. For me, what I typically do, especially during our weekly 3-day or 60-hour fast, is I'll still exercise, but I'll exercise in different ways. I won't go as hard on the hill, but I'll do more stretching, more yogic type exercises. I'll focus more on my martial arts training per se, not the hard part, but like I'll focus on my forms. I'll focus more on more exercises that are more focused on being more inward, not necessarily exerting myself at super high levels. I've become a lot more meditative during my fasting times as well. And so, and then on that Wednesday, that's when I kick it back up. And then, we going at it, and really raising it up to a whole nother level, because when I'm training, I've noticed that, my body, the calorie intake, it needs to actually go up in order to sustain the gains that I'm looking to make in my training. And so usually, so you can still exercise, just don't go as, all out. We don't need nobody passing out on the weight bench trying to do 400, bench 400. But continue to exercise, just exercise in different ways. Green tea is solid too. It'll help to boost. Let's see, the truth is fasting 3 days, the first 3 days, you're exhausted, headaches. Can we talk about the gradual betterness you feel when fasting? Yeah, well, what those headaches come from, and that's why my queen, when she made mention of just kind of working your way into it, Your body's been functioning at, whatever level that it's functioned at all these years without it. And so just going, just cold turkey, or just like, I'm just gonna go, just drop everything and I'm just gonna fast for 24 hours. Everybody can't do that. Most people, and most people shouldn't. For us, it was something, like for myself, it was something I built into. I grew into that. And so initially it was, okay, I'm only going to eat from 10 to 6. And then I kind of started to play with it. Especially, I noticed there was a direct correlation between my spiritual walk and, when I was really, really intense in my spiritual training. I was a part of a program called the Birth of the Sage. And so the meditation, the yogic practices, it was a real concentrated program where we're doing like tons of breath work, tons of, highly disciplined. And that's when I bumped it up to that 222. Where I was eating it had a 2-hour window from 4 to 6 every day, and that's the only time that I ate. And outside of that, it was just purely drinking water. And that actually worked for me. The only challenge was making sure I ate from 4 to 6. Yeah, or like if I got caught up, in the field at work or something like that, then it was a problem. Would you suggest starting a soup diet right away? Would that make things easier from a liquid fast?
I would say so. Again, going from whatever standard of food intake that you're used to and lessening that into a more liquid space, and then going into the fast. Mm-hmm. You don't want it to be, okay, it shouldn't be anything that is abrasive to the system, to the body. Mm-hmm. So gradually you want to bring that down. So yes, if you want to make a big pot of soup and just eat on that for some time and then go into your fast, yes, sure. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because what will the challenge that people have? That's the reason why detoxes, extended detox. I never recommend doing it if you've never detoxed before. Doing an extended detox right off the bat is because your body naturally protects itself. So if you're in the habit of abusing yourself, like say for instance, we abuse ourselves with the way that we eat, the certain types of foods and whatnot, the body gets used to that because it becomes habit to eat, have a diet that's not fulfilling or it's not for our benefit. And so the body has a tendency, because that's what it knows, anything that deviates from that, it's like, oh no, you can't take that away from me. Especially if you've got a major parasitic invasion in your body, because the parasites is usually, when people have these crazy cravings, it's the parasites that say, hey, give me that, I want that, ooh, look at that, ooh, cookies, that's sugar. And so with that being said, you want to kind of work your way into it just a little bit at a time, and then gradually bump it up until it becomes a habit. If anybody that's over 35, we become hardwired. Like by the time we're 35, 95% of who we are is on autopilot. 95% of what we do is habit. Yeah, and so those first 35 years of our lives, and so we're operating 95% of what we do every single day, how we function, how we exist in life, is our subconscious is at the wheel. And so when you know better, you do better, which sounds, and is actually, truth is, that's what it is. But you're only using 5% of your conscious brain. Is only 5% of the equation at that point. By the time you turn 35, that's the reason why it's so difficult when you get older. The older you get, the harder it is to break habits, because they become so ingrained in who you are and your state of being that you only got 5% of your brain that you can use to counteract this. And so that's when meditation and going deep within and really knowing and understanding yourself becomes so important, because you're like, hey, how do I? Because everything is habit. It's habit. Yeah, like half the time people do the things they do, they don't even know why, because they don't consciously know why. They just do it, or why they're triggered by certain things. Don't even know why, but it's a subconscious program that they're riding on. Mm-hmm. And so once you like when I learned that information, that was a game changer for me. It was like, wait, hold up. Why is it hard for me to really stick with, say for instance, I've detoxed for years. And it wasn't until I found out during COVID, that's when I made the final change. But I would always my weight would kick back up over time. And that's when I found I had an addiction to food, an emotional connection, an emotional addiction to food. And it wasn't until I really added in the meditation component to my detox. And technically, detoxing is a way of fasting because it's a raw food fast coupled with herbs. Essentially, detoxing and fasting technically are synonymous when you really look at it, because after the first 36 hours, your body really kicks into a high level detox mode. And so the detox is just more of a systemized way of going about it. Let's see. Deborah says, I must say, I hope you all know how blessed you are to have each other. I stay in a household where I am the food prep cool server. It's not easy to be steady on a hard fast when everybody is, woo, yes.
It was a road to get to you.
Yeah.
And that was one thing in my dating. It was like, okay, I know how I eat. Mm-hmm. And preparing foods for another, and it's like, I don't eat this though. So it's like I felt like I was going against myself. And then what ended up happening oftentimes was I ended up eating the food because my food is tasty. So it's like, okay, well, let me taste it, let me have some, it wouldn't hurt. And then it became a daily thing. So me being plant-based and even living with a meat eater, it's
a problem.
Yeah, it ended up being an issue, for my health. And, it was a daylight came and I met you. I'm like, oh, come this way. I got it from there. Yeah, it was a game changer when I was aligned to someone who had my same food type.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. I come from the same situations where my dietary regimens weren't supported, and so it was a constant conflict and then it's kind of a trip because you think people would be happy for you, or applaud that you're trying to you're making these dietary changes to improve your life, but more times than not, actually all the time, it was hated on.
So low.
Yeah, it was hated on. You would think so. You want they want the best for you. Oh yeah, all the little jokes. Oh man, don't let it be Thanksgiving or a family dinner. Woo.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh yeah. We gonna rack this rabbit food. Oh, we made something for you. It'd be like a little side piece. I'd be like, what is that? They got all these crazy, amazing dishes, and they be like, oh yeah, we got something for you. This one little dish of some frozen. Yeah, so they about it. I was like, I remember I came. Oh my Lord, my aunt. I remember the first time when I checked that first Thanksgiving. God bless her. She said, oh yeah, we got something for you. and pulled out a bag of frozen carrots and broccoli. And I was like, oh, he's like, yeah, you can eat this, right? And I'm like, we got this, all this, like, really? This is what we doing? And then all of a sudden, then everybody start going in, and yeah, the devil wants us fat and unhealthy. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And even
Yeah.
speaking to the aunt and the matriarchs of the family, the grandmothers, the mothers, Dr. Sadie said the one plate that is hardest to say no to is your mother's. That's the hardest plate to say no to. You have the mother tongue from her. So when she brings you something and she knows how to make it for you, she knows your favorite spices and everything, what not to put in with, and it's like, I just want support.
Yes.
I just want support from whoever is cooking, you know, and so then it came to a place, and still to this day, when it comes to holidays, I fast. I fast on holidays typically. Yeah, because it's like, okay, it's not about the celebration, although I enjoy family. It is about, family.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the dedication.
Absolutely. And so a few things to keep in mind when you're fasting is to make sure that your mineral intake is still on point. You maintain that. You want to have salt, good salt, like a Himalayan pink salt or something of that nature, sea salt in particular. And then you can have your potassium. You need to make sure your potassium levels stay up, and then also your magnesium levels as well. You want to make sure those are still on point, because when people start to feel woozy and whatnot, I don't recommend doing a water fast off the top. That was something I built into a liquid fast, smoothies. I mean, you still have any the fruits and whatnot. The reason why we mentioned liquid fasting is because you're still getting the nutrients, but your body isn't having to process the food, and so it just goes straight. It's more of a direct connect to the bloodstream, because what's happening is when your body's processing and breaking down the foods, it's taking away your energy in doing so. And so it was a gradual process to get to water fasting. Yeah, coconut water's solid too, because you're getting electrolytes from the coconut, and the coconut has so many healing properties as well. Yeah, yes, excellent, Deborah, excellent. Eating is so deeply connected to us as humans. Yeah, we've grown into that. The industrialized farming system is what's gotten us so tied into eating around the clock. Because, like, if you really want to get down to it, the reason why that 222 fasting regimen worked for me, because when you look at where we actually come from prior to the whole industrialized farming system or commercialized farming system that exists today, is we used to only eat once a day. Yeah. I mean, like, that was the culture. In ancient times, eating once a day was normal. And so everybody came together and they ate, because especially if you're dealing with cultures that, that ate meat and whatnot, I mean, they weren't hunting down 10 buffaloes a day or 10, taking down, 10 bison or whatever a day. No, they weren't catching, 10,000 fish, and the whole village was eating, all throughout the day, and, snacking on, brownies at night. They weren't doing all that. And so it was normal to eat once a day. When you look at in the Elijah Muhammad, eat to live. It's once a day. Muslims, Nation of Islam, they eat once a day. That's normal. If you're really practicing, strict practice, your strict, Islamic practices, it's 1 meal a day. And so in many cultures, they still do that. And so with the advent, like I said, with the advent of commercialized farming, it's a business. And so that's the reason why the foods are the way they are. If you even want to call them foods, they're actually more like drugs, because they got so many hormones and injected with so many different things that make us crave them. In particular, they got sugar in everything. Yeah, they got sugar in everything. Let's get into something. Take a single mother with food stamps. Are we knowing, teaching the best possible ways to budget spend that surplus? Learning how to eat out the projects type thing. You got something on it? I got something on it too.
You
Go
know, when
Great question.
yes,
Great
thank
question.
you,
Because
thank
that's
you.
what we hear all the time. Well, I can't afford to eat organic food. I can't afford. I know.
Because
you just got to change where you're getting your food from.
going
Your source.
to the health food stores, you'd be surprised who takes food stamps
Yeah.
and who uses food stamps. You know, no matter how many children or whatever. Your local grocery store or the high-end stores, they all take food stamps. Yeah, your Whole Foods and Trader Joe's, I don't know where everything is in every state where everyone is. But yeah, you'd be surprised. Then going back to what you were saying, you know, traditionally, if we didn't grow it, we didn't eat it. If we couldn't catch it, we didn't eat it. So, you know, the heavy food intake, the heavy meat intake, even going to the grocery store, you know, we grew our food, we caught our food, and that makes a big difference in how we are today, especially with the standard American SAD acronym, the SAD diet. So it is possible still to eat healthy on food stamps.
Now, I used to run the Compton Farmers Market back in the day. And the big game changer for us was they had that was called the SNAP program. And many of the farmers markets, I haven't gotten a chance to actually get out to one here in Georgia because everything's seasonal. In Cali, they're open all the time. But in running the farmers market, we accepted EBT, food stamps. And so, and I'm pretty sure we're not the only ones that just are, you know, Cali's just so progressive. But it's changing your food habits as far as where you're going. Because, yeah, there is a kick up in price when you go to the grocery store to get something organic. And so I'm speaking to the affordability of it. Because if, you know, someone's receiving food stamps, then there's a limitation on their ability. You know, they have a budget, usually a budget that technically they can't even really survive off of that to begin with. And so with that being said, if someone is on food stamps, farmers markets is going to give you the best bang for your buck. Find a
Participating farmers market.
Participating farmers markets that accept the EBTs and the food stamps. That's going to give you the best. You should be going there anyway, because now you got a direct connect with the farmers, and so you're going to get that, you know, what you can get out of farmers market organically, or at least grown in, and they have, you know, it may not be certified organic, but it's, you know, they have a clean growing process that, you know, is healthy and doesn't have a bunch of pesticides and whatnot, or it's pesticide free. So usually that's sort of like the tit for tat or whatnot. They'll either say it's organic. If not, then they vouch for it. Like, hey, look, it's pesticide free. We grow it on clean soils. We just haven't gotten our organic stamp yet. And so once you start making a connection with the farmers, you can get so much more bang for the buck. The farmers market is like a Costco for fruits and vegetables. And so when somebody says, "Oh, I can't afford it," no, you just need to alter your habit of where you go to buy your fruits and vegetables. That's all.
If I may, going to the farmers markets, if you go a little later, like not too far, not
It's
too long
a cheat
before,
code. Hey, listen to this part. It's a cheat code.
if you go
She's putting you up on game.
if you go to the farmers market not too long before they are closing down, because the farmers don't want to take the food home with them, they basically give it away. That's just go. now I'm used to getting up and getting there at 7 o'clock in the morning. Let's go pick these strawberries and everything. But no, when I went a little later, I left with more.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Don't tell nobody I told you that.
Yeah. So as a former farmers market manager, I can vouch for it, because guess when I got all my fruits and vegetables? At the end of the day, just before we closed. So whatever anybody had, they was like, oh, and plus I was a market manager, so they hooked me up anyway. And then they saw my children, they were always running around helping out with the farmers market. And so they really respected that, like, oh, seeing me bringing the kids to work, because I always made sure that they were part of anything that I did. And so, but yes, go late. Now, will you miss out on some stuff? Yes. But you'll get the best deals. And so for somebody that's on a limited income, yeah, go a little bit later. And then all of a sudden, because they don't want to take it home. No, and plus they just spend all the time picking all this stuff and coming out here. Yeah, they don't want to take back nothing. Trust me. Oh yeah, the best deals is at the end of the day at the farmers market. They actually start doubling up with you. And so there's ways to maximize this health game. It's just that everything that we do is a habit. Yeah, it's habit. And so where do we learn how? And I'm not trying to put off on the women. I'll just say parents, but the mother, traditionally, mom is who gets the food in the house and whatnot. And so everything we learn about how we eat typically stems from the mother. Me, I actually learned mine from my dad, because, I always wanted to be like Pops and whatnot. He had all these big old steaks and a section of potatoes and a section of corn, which is pretty much the worst taste you can eat vegetable. So, I got my standard American diet, a balanced diet with this big gigantic T-bone steak on the plate. He loved the grill. Yeah, but anyway, but where they shopped at is where I shopped at, or where I learned to shop at. The seasons that they use is what I learned. How I learned to season food. And so when people talk about, what do you call that? It runs in my family. No, it's not. The disease doesn't run in your family. It's the food habits or where you shop at. Because guess what my mama shopped at? Where my grandmama shopped at. And guess who, it just gets passed down, because it's learned behavior. It's learned conditioning that is what creates our diseases, is, continual bad habits. And so when you know better, you do better. And, those farmers markets, those are a gold mine, because just off the bat, you're going to get a lot more for a lot less. But it's just being able to make the transition to finding that farmer's market that's going to cater to your needs and have a nice variety of what, and there's a lot, depending on where your community, there's lots of them around. You just got to be diligent and, seeing which one works for you. Because, do you like every grocery store? No. Yeah, but there's one that you have your go-to because it has what you need. And then you have to do the same thing with the farmer's market. You find that go-to farmer's market. Thank you so much, Deborah. Appreciate all the love. Yeah, if it's jacked up from jump, it's harder to sift through the food, healing habits. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Let's see. Was there anything else? So we covered the vitamins, minerals. Make sure you stay mineralized. Make sure your salt intake. We're talking about good salt, Himalayan pink salt, a solid, clean source of sea salt. Your body needs it needs salt to properly metabolize food and properly do it, and function and whatnot. So good salt, not iodized salt. No, that's processed salt. That will tear you up.
Dehydrate.
It will dehydrate you. Does everybody know why iodized salt is so bad? Do you? Yeah, well, let me, okay. Yeah, iodized salt, the reason why it's bad, because of the way it's processed, it has a scarring effect on the arteries and the blood vessels. And so a lot of times you hear people make mention of, lower your salt intake. Lower your salt intake if you got high blood pressure. This was explained to me when my daughter had her aneurysm when she was 12. And they broke it down to me as because when she ended up having emergency brain surgery, lost the function on the left side of her body. It was a horrible situation, but it was probably the game changer. Oh yeah, well yeah, but oh no, it's horrible. But it's like, but I was asking, scarring. Yeah, exactly, exactly, exactly. And I sought the advice of holistic healers as to because nobody could tell me well, I ain't even gonna mention the hospital, but anyway, I kept asking why did this happen? Why did this happen? They were like, oh, I don't know, it just happened. I'm like, no, it don't just happen. And first they told me it was some kind of malformed blood vessels or some crap like that. And I'm like, so it took her 12 and a half years to have a condition of an aneurysm where the blood vessel busted in her brain and it left a blood clot the size of a golf ball. At 12 and a half years old, it took 12 and a half years for that to happen. I'm like, no. And a holistic doctor over in mid Wilshire area, he broke it down to him. He was like, hey, this is what's going on. It says that especially when you have a high salt intake, and we was eating whatever back then. So it just kind of it was a thing. And so yeah, our diet was not the best that it could be. A lot of veggie meat. Yeah, we were switching over to being vegetarians at the time, and so it was a bunch of veggie patties, which have a bunch of salt and a bunch of trash in them. Not to say that I'm anti-veggie patties, just that can't be a part of your everyday meal. I'm a vegetarian because I eat veggie meat. No, it's actually as bad as meat. It just processes a little bit faster. But anyway, they explained to me that when a person eats iodized salt, it scars the arteries. It scars the blood vessels. And your body's natural desire when, what happens when you get a cut? You get this little film on the outside of your body. You get this film over the cut, which is mucus. And then it dries and creates a scab. Well, that's what's happening on your artery, on your blood vessels. The salt goes through your system and scars your arteries. It scars your blood vessels, and the mucus goes in repair mode. And so that basically what that high blood pressure is, or hypertension is your diet is. It's a way of your body protecting itself, but then you start to add the cholesterol in, and now that excess mucus turns into a paste. And so wherever that paste is at, and wherever there's a weakness in blood flow, and then with that weakness in blood flow, then it starts to create a blockage. And so if it's below the heart, it becomes a heart attack. If it's above the heart, it becomes a stroke. And if the blood vessel bursts, because the blockage is just so solid now, and then a person is dehydrated, and so they lose elasticity in their blood vessels, and then the blood just keeps going, and boom, it bursts. And so why is salt or iodized salt so detrimental? It's because it scars the artery. It's the number one issue. It's not because people are like, oh, well, lower your cholesterol. No, stop eating iodized salt. Stop eating, because that's what's really causing it. Because the iodized salt, it happens. Whatever happens on the outside of your body happens on the inside just the same. And so stay away, because I mentioned salt. They'll be like, no, I said I can't eat salt. Doctor said I can't have salt. No, you can't have iodized salt. Yeah, your body needs sea salt. Natural salt, so that it can properly metabolize food. Yeah, and sea salt, you can put that, especially the higher grade sea salts are amazing. So yeah, so absolutely. No iodized salt, sea salt. Yeah, so make sure you stay mineralized. Make sure your salt intake is on point as well. You can salt water is actually good to take, in particular in the morning. It'll help flush your body out. You can add maybe like a teaspoon, a half a teaspoon of yeah, kosher salt, pink salt. Yes. Those are solid, Deborah. Yes, absolutely. Kosher salt, pink salt are right on point. Absolutely on point. Let's see. Was there anything else? Did you have something else, baby? Because I'm trying to make sure I hit. Oh my Lord, I want to make sure I give y'all everything. The last thing outside of fat loss, we've got the gut biomes, and so that creates what they call IgA, and it helps in digestion. And it's good. It puts good bacteria in your gut area. And so when you're doing a fast, in particular, right around that 48-hour mark, it starts after 12 to 16. So don't be like, oh, I didn't do 48 hours, it didn't work. No, but after 12 to 16 hours of fasting, the gut biome, the gut it has good and bad bacteria in it, and you want to have the good bacteria so that it helps to process your foods at a high level. And so that's another benefit of fasting is it improves your gut health dramatically. If somebody says you're having some kind of gut issues, yeah, fasting actually is rock solid for that. And, the closer you can get to that 48-hour mark, the more you can maximize it. But like I said, take, little steps each day and build up to that. And the last thing is the autophagy. Oh, actually, what is that? I want to say, make sure I say it, autoplasty. And what that is it's the situation where the body recycles the cells. So cells that are no longer in use, rather than expelling them. It's almost, I liken it to, it's not stem cell regeneration, but it has that type of effect. And so it's taking the extra cells or the cells that aren't being used anymore, and it repurposes them for a higher use in the body. And so when you see from a vanity standpoint, people that fast tend to have a younger look about them because of that autophagy phenomenon that goes on with doing the fast, and because now your cells are being repurposed, and so it goes to enhancing your daily appearance. It goes to enhancing your bodily function. And so now those cells get recycled and repurposed for a higher use in the body. Wow. Thanks. I use salt in cooking. I use sea salt, or I just got Himalayan salt. Is that yes, Himalayan salt? That's pretty much, the standard Himalayan salt. There's different ones, but I like Himalayan. As a matter of fact, my boy, Dr. Hall, he was the one that turned me on to the whole science behind salt. And I remember we were doing an event down in Houston because we're opening up an international business incubator. So yes, Felicia, yes, Himalayan salt is the truth. And we were I was helping set up. He loved to cook, and I was chopping. He was like, "Man, had me chopping up the fruit for the fruit platter." And I remember he went and bought, he made a pitch to fit about making sure that he couldn't find Himalayan pink salt. And I was like, okay, well, why does he want the salt so bad? Like, okay, salt is salt, whatever. And then he was like, no, and he's like, he felt like he found gold. And so I was chopping up the fruit, and he was nice fruit platter. I was like, yeah. And he was like, all right, yeah, brother, now grab the Himalayan pink salt and spread it across the fruit. And I'm like, wait, what? We about to put salt on all this beautiful, amazing fruit that I just spent all this time cutting up. I said, nobody want no salty fruit. And that's what he told me. He said that Himalayan pink salt has a metabolizing effect. You can't gain the true taste of food without salt. And I was like, oh. And I was like, okay. And I was still skeptical, like, whatever. Okay. I mean, because I'm used to iodized salt at the time. And I swear that fruit platter, as I made multiple ones. And I kind of went over it like a little glaze. And he's like, nah, brother, and not, you don't like just oversaturate it, but you get a nice little amount. And that fruit platter, them folks was in there like, oh my God, who made the fruit platter? They act like it was crack or something. They was all hovered around, scooping up cups of it. That fruit platter was gone in like 15, 20 minutes. Gone. They was like, and it was crazy because when the salt molecules connected with the fruit, you can see like sparks and stuff, the electricity, the current. And it was like, they made like a little crackle sound. I was like, whoa, what on earth? Yeah, like seriously, the Himalayan pink salt, it was real fine, and it just disappeared into the fruit. And I was like, whoa, like it was magic. I was like sprinkling more. He was like, yeah, brother. And he went into the whole situation, the whole, breaking down what it does for you. And, that's been a staple in our home ever since. Let's see, Max, what's up? What's up, brother? How you doing? Let's see, do you have a calendar that tells you what days to fast, or have you ever thought about putting together a meal plan? I need to start fasting so I can look young. Man, black don't crack, brother. But yeah, no, absolutely. There's a general, when you follow the circadian rhythms, as a matter of fact, I'll put Dr. Sabi's chart. He's got one called eating in rhythm. But basically, it's just mimicking the circadian rhythms that you follow during the day. I don't know if you caught the beginning of the talk, but as a matter of fact, I'll reply back to you in the chat after we finish and kind of break that down. But yeah, when it comes to a chart, of when to eat and how to eat, there you basically just follow the rhythms of the body, and like anywhere from like 5 to 12 noon, 5 in the morning to 12 noon. You want to focus on eating fruits, herbs, stuff like that, water, your water intake. The first thing you want to do every morning when you wake up is you want to drink a glass of water. Preferably a warm glass of water, because that'll get the body, it's like oil for the body, and it gets you going. It gets your organs like saying, hey, it's time to wake up. All right, we're not sleeping anymore. We're switching over to a different process, and that's usually the reason why you urinate first thing in the morning. Or you have a bowel movement within an hour or so in the morning as well. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Marion wants to be in your video. Okay, well, hold on. Let's. Max wants to jump on. Let's see. What do we? I've never done this before. Bear with me. All right. Okay, so Max wants to jump on. I didn't know you can add people in this video. Oh, this is amazing. Mm-hmm. Yes, bro. I used to. I use that on my fruit. They have it here in Kenya. Okay, so yeah, he uses the salt on his fruit. Yeah. So Max is jumping on my video feed. Let's see. So I guess it takes a second to really process. But yeah, let's see. Himalayan pink salt. I have it. Yes. Yeah. That's rock solid. Let's see. We have some other questions here. Wow, Himalayan pink salt. How about kosher salt? Pink salt. Yes, as long as it's not iodized. That's the pink salt. Himalayan pink salt. Technically, that's what it is. It's a Himalayan pink salt. There are different variations of it, so just be mindful of it. especially once the powers that be, the main corporations started picking up that people were looking to make a change. And so you have to be mindful that all salts may or may not be the same. Your body's going to tell you, when you take it in, especially when you start to become really in tune with the way your system processes things. And it'll be like, oh, no, this ain't cool. Because a lot of the certain things that, you think that are actually good for you, or it says that it's good for you, but then it's got some, things in it that may or not be, what it's supposed to be, or the quality may not be what it's supposed to be, or it may be GMO. So to be aware of that. It's a trip that I'm glad that you mentioned that, Deborah, that you found it at the Dollar Tree store. Yeah, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. Like on overstock items, they'll find their way over to like the Dollar Trees and the 99 cents. You'd be surprised at what you find at the 99 cent store. I remember when there's a time where we was really, really, really in a tight spot budget wise after I got injured, and after I had the concussions, doctor, I couldn't work. And, even though I still tried to kind of limp through and try to make do, the 99 cent store actually was a saver. It helped get us through all them days that, money was tight, and it was like, okay, got a few dollars here, how do I make this meal out of $10? And especially, it really depends on the area that you're in. The Dollar Trees and some of them, they're not all the same per se. You would think they were, but in certain areas, you can get some really good stuff. You be like, wait, hold up, they got, like you said, you got a huge bag of, Himalayan salt from the Dollar Tree. Yeah, go figure. You'd be surprised when you walk down those aisles. Yeah, and so definitely, that's another thing. As a matter of fact, there's a brother that I saw years ago. He had a thing about, when people talk about, being a vegetarian or eating healthy is hard. Mm-hmm. And he said, he bought all this stuff from a 99 cent store. Yeah, and he literally walks you through and says, here's what I've gotten. Here's a whole bag of fruits and vegetables, $20. He filled up his, half his refrigerator. He was good. And so especially if you're lowering your food intake to what technically it should be, technically we're only supposed to eat once a day. So what that actually means, not like one thing a day, but like there's a small window of when we have a real full meal. And so, I'll say Dollar Tree has frozen bags of veggies and fruit. Straight, just the fruit or veggies. Yeah, like say for instance, we're from Cali originally, and so we have what they call out there the 99 cent store, which is the equivalent to the we have Dollar Trees there too. Yeah, we have Dollar Trees. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the 99 cent store in Cali has fresh fruit. Yeah, they real big on that. And so is everything on point like it should be? No, but when you go in a certain higher so-called, higher economic, higher class areas, their 99 cent stores look better. The fruit they have there looks better than it has, than some of the fruit, some of the grocery stores. Mm. Yeah, it's better than the organic section at the grocery store. And so you could actually find some gems. You just got to look through the aisles, and because we're talking about, as you may have mentioned, somebody is on EBT, is on food stamps. Yeah, you can absolutely find some gems. Like I said, it's a matter of retraining your habits to, in the habit of where you shop at, the habit of where you focus on, spending your money. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we all have the options, of eating healthy. And hell, if money is really an issue, as long as you got like a 4 foot by 4 foot space somewhere, 4 by 2 space, anywhere in your home that's got access to sunlight, you can grow whatever you need. Keeping it 100.
Go back to eating
You don't need a yard. You just need a porch. You can grow enough food to support and sustain your household. But it's a matter of changing that mindset, changing that habit. Yeah, so when anybody tells me, oh, I can't afford to eat healthy. No, I'm like, no. I said, no, it's not that you can't afford to eat healthy. It's you're just not willing to change the habits and how you go about eating. Because if you're looking at what you've been trained to do, what you've been brought up to do, to shop where mama shop, to buy what mama bought, now you're trying to basically switch the program at the same place. No, it doesn't. They don't cater to that. They purposely bump those prices up because the game here, especially in Western society, is to keep us sick. They don't make no money off of us being healthy. I mean, they can. They don't. The game is how sick can we keep you? How can we keep you just at a level of having to keep coming back to, these pharmaceuticals or having a life of being on some sort of pharmaceuticals. Yes. So right now, celery and almond butter, yum, yum. Hey, yes. That's good stuff.
Good job.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, appreciate the love, Max. Appreciate the love. Yeah. And so, is there anything else, baby? I think we
covered a couple of times.
Yeah. As always, it has been, we appreciate you all. We appreciate you all. We really love being in this space. We really love being able to share with y'all. And we love y'all bring to us and being able to share with us in return. Because every day, as we're here to, kind of teach and share, but we learn just as much from y'all as, it's a cipher. It's a bilateral, everything is, what do you call that? It's a synergy amongst us all. And so, any information you have to share, if you want to jump in on the chat after the fact, yes, let's go Community 120. Yes, we can live let's live it together because we don't want to do it by ourselves. Yeah, we want to do it with all y'all. We want to be, live our best lives. Not talk about the memories of what we used to do when we were younger. We want to talk about the memories that we're creating as we get older. Yes. Yeah. There's a lot of folks, they got it the other way. They're like, oh, what I used to do and I used to do. No, what I can do and what I'm about to go do, that's what you want to talk about. Yeah, I look forward to waking up every day. I look forward to going out there and seeing how I can be a better version of myself than I was the day before. And, life is beautiful. Life was amazing. Because I remember where I was a few years back. I was in pain. I was hating the world, hating myself. I was just like, man. And I was like, nah, there's got to be a better way. And then when I learned better, I started doing better and started creating consistent, healthy habits. That's the thing. You want to create consistent, healthy habits. And that's the game changer. Create the habit of being healthy. Create the habit of focusing on your wellness. Create the habit of developing strong, loving relationships. Yeah, because above everything else, guess what the top 4 things that you can do to sustain your life are? How you relate to the world, how you relate to your mate, how you relate to your family, your children, your extended family, and how you relate to nature. The 4 things, top 4 things on this planet that will help sustain your life and have a healthy life and fruitful life is relationships. So yes. And then it's diet and then exercise. That's actually the top 6. So yeah. With that being said, I think we're good. So I love you.
I love you back.
And we love you all. Have a phenomenal day. Bye-bye.